Welcome to the Sisters Uncensored podcast, where we get into everything from childhood trauma to millennial adulting and all things in between.
We share crazy stories from the past and present to help us cope with the insanity that is our lives.
By sharing our perspectives, we hope to bring some relatability, laughter, and unsolicited advice that can help you survive the messiness of life along with us.
My name's Jessica Labita. I'm a millennial mom, wife, and marketing professional, and I am absolutely insane.
My name is Ashley Leneve. I am a millennial stay-at-home mom, avid golfer, and too mouthy for my own good.
We are real sisters, and this is Sisters Uncensored. Take this trip with us. Welcome to the Sisters Uncensored podcast. So today we're going to talk about domestic violence and if Hollywood is helping or hurting domestic violence causes. I think this whole situation with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni and how the movie It Ends With Us was supposed to be a story that brought light to a very difficult and traumatic subject was completely overshadowed by their bullshit. And so I kind of want to get into that today.
Same. Okay. So, whose side are you on?
Me, I'm Team Justin right now, but I've like flip-flopped back and forth. So right now I'm Team Justin.
So did I. Okay. So I originally thought after seeing her complaint that like he was really fucked up. Like, and the entire staff in and of itself was fucked up for allowing all this shit to happen.
Right.
Then when he filed his lawsuit and the reasoning behind like how he did it the way he did it, and seeing the full context of their text message exchanges,
right?
I think she's a twat.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
No.
So I went into watching this movie thinking to myself, I already don't like her, which is a problem. Yeah. I mean, it could change tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see what else comes out, but could change tomorrow. But I kind of avoided watching this movie for personal reasons. Like, to me, it was a little triggering.
Yeah.
And this is like I said, it's a really serious issue. I do think that, I think their point in making this movie, the intention was there and it was good.
I think it was his point initially. I think he really wanted to make this an indie film with a message that was going to help bring awareness to domestic violence and support, helping people who are victims.
Right, bring awareness.
Yeah, and I think that got completely taken away from, one, her going in and like taking over the whole production, like her adding her creative elements to this, her wanting it to be her star. And I think I'm trying to think of like the words that she wanted to be a chick flick basically, and it wasn't meant to be a chick flick.
Yeah, I agree. It came across when I watched it anyway. I don't know what his original plan was for this movie, but what it turned into, if based on what I saw and based on my experience, it was not an accurate depiction of what DV survivors actually go through.
Yeah.
And that's just in my experience.
Yep.
And I felt like I don't know, maybe it was just a little too pretty the way they made it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think the intention was to make it, listen, it's not as violent as it nearly could have been, right? And you don't really get the sense of what's truly happening until the very end.
I understand that. I don't mean it like that. I mean, there were some things in it that were accurate. I think there were a lot of things that, again, just based on my experience, we should probably start off by saying, like, we've both been in abusive relationships before.
Yeah.
So, like, when you've gone through any kind of DV,
yes. Go ahead.
It hits close to home.
Agree.
So, like, when I was saying I was trying to avoid watching this movie, I was afraid it was going to literally trigger major PTSD.
Yeah.
And I was, like, watching it just, like, tense.
Yeah.
Completely tense.
So that's where I kind of, like, when this first all came out, right, and they were just not promoting the film together, and there was, like, suspiciousness about things being weird.
Yeah.
That's where I first, like, really realized, like, holy shit, this is a movie that could bring light to a situation that 1 in 4 women in the U.S. experience severe domestic violence, and 1 in 7 men. That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people.
So knowing like how many people are a part of something like this, or I think the other statistic I saw was 3 out of 4 people know someone who's been involved in a violent domestic violence situation.
That sounds accurate.
Right. So considering those statistics, if you think about yourself like sitting in a movie theater with a bunch of mostly women probably watching this movie.
Yeah.
And you think of 4 chairs and one of those 4 people has been like in this bad situation. This was such an opportunity to make this not such a secret taboo thing, because there's so much that comes with TV that we don't talk about. And I think that's really the point of today, right? It's like we want to talk about this. And for me, and I think for you too, like this is the first time that we're actually sharing publicly some of the things that have happened to, at least
in our
to me
experiences.
and to
Yeah.
you, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of crazy. But so what I was going to say with when the initial movie came out, my girlfriends and I, we all decided we're going to go and see this film. And this was right when Blake had started with her wear flowers and go in your floral, like, because she's a florist and all the stuff in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that's fucked up. Like, it really turned me off. And I was like, I'm boycotting this. And I was one of the chicks that wore all black, because at that time, all these statistics started coming out, because she was saying, like, making so light of this and like making it so chick flicky and not about DV at all.
Oh.
Like, she had such a platform, I feel like, to be able to do good here, and she did not.
I didn't realize that that's how she was promoting it.
Yeah.
So to me, I go from secondhand information.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like, I knew that I was not going to go and see this movie.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid this movie.
Yeah.
For me personally, for my own mental health, I was trying to avoid this movie. So other people who went to go and see it, who would come back to me and be like, oh my God, it was so good.
Right.
It was such a good, like, depiction of the book and everything like that.
Yeah.
And all, like, it was so good. And everybody cries and blah, blah, blah at the end and yada, yada. And to me, I was like, I am staying as far away from this as I could possibly stay. But when all this stuff started coming up and everything like that, I'm seeing the back and forth between the two of them and realizing what an opportunity missed this is because of petty ego bullshit.
100%.
It's, as someone who has gone through this and experienced it, it's such a disappointment.
100%.
It's such a disappointment. It's, I'm not crying or anything. My fake lashes are just getting stuck to my mascara. Whatever. Anyway, I don't cry. But okay, kiss my ass. Anyway, it was just really disappointing. I thought it was really disappointing because it was to me, it is like a dirty little secret that people do not talk about. It's embarrassing. There's so much there's just so much that you don't want the world to know.
Yeah.
Or anyone. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
That like for some big celebrities, somebody like Blake Lively, like she's a top tier actress.
Her husband too. Like, I feel like together, the two of them, the good that they could have done with it. And they like totally just missed the mark.
I think the movie missed the mark to me.
Well, they weren't, because like, I think the movie missed the mark too, because
Of all
the two
her
of them wouldn't even promote the movie together because of all this shit that had gone on.
So like, I'm curious to see what his original intentions were and plan for this movie was. I'd really like to know what his vision was.
So everything that we've gotten from our fans and like on TikTok and stuff is that his intention for this movie was to make it an indie film and to support women and to bring awareness to domestic violence and to these situations so that he could bring good out of it. And he bought the rights to this movie apparently quite a while ago. And you guys like chime in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I did post a little something about this. So we have kind of had some discussion and back and forth about it. And from what the majority of people are saying is that he took this film with the intent of doing good. She came in, took over, blew everything up,
Right.
and It was unable to be what he wanted it to be. And that is
I get what you're saying.
crux of the arguing. And then why she's filing claims of sexual harassment and all these other things. And like, basically they've gone on. Right. And again, I don't know so much how much Justin has truly contributed to this, but now they've gone on to basically just destroy one another.
Yeah.
And the purpose and message of everything has just been
completely lost. It was a huge opportunity missed. So I watched the movie, right?
Okay.
And I watched it yesterday.
Yep.
And I had to force myself to. You basically forced me to.
I did.
Let's be honest. I really didn't want to watch it.
I know.
I really didn't want to watch it. But I did not find it to be an accurate depiction. If we're talking now about the movie and what actually, like the messages that I was getting from it, some of things I thought were spot on.
Okay.
And some things I was like
What?
okay, so one of the things that I would say was spot on, the love bombing. I thought that was a big thing. That was absolutely accurate. The apologizing and saying I'll never do it again, those are accurate. Like these are repeat patterns. Anybody who has had any kind of issue with domestic violence will know this.
Yeah.
Right? Like
and something that we should be clear about too is that domestic violence is not physical always. There is
physical, mental, financial,
verbal,
third party.
Yeah.
Like there's like secondhand type of DV can happen where like somebody could abuse someone you love to hurt you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think also going back to a previous episode we've done, we spoke with Coach Randy White about narcissists. You throw a narcissist into the mix in addition to someone who is abusive, it's a whole nother animal, right? So,
yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so as far as
there's a scale of terribleness.
yes,
I'd like to think that I'm on the lesser end of how violent and terrible these situations can be, because I know of situations where like other people have been in relationships where it's been so much. I mean, people have died.
yeah. Well, so there, like you said, there's a scale. So there's like you said, being on the lighter side,
worse or better, it shouldn't happen at all.
and then like the worst case scenario is literally like getting murdered. You know what I mean, and beaten to death and things like that. I luckily have not been in that side of the scale, at least not that far to that end. But in my experience, it was really bad.
Yeah.
I know it was really bad.
You're on the far side of the scale.
So things that stood out to me that I thought were inaccurate, most importantly, the ending. The ending of the movie.
I know. It was.
I'm sorry, but for anybody who's gone through this, you are not like you have your baby and you're like, okay, I'm not going to let this happen to her. There is so much more going on through your head. That does not happen.
No.
That is such bullshit.
Yeah.
It pissed me off.
Yeah. It was totally unrealistic.
It was completely unrealistic.
Yeah.
And really, what do you think? He was really just going to leave her alone?
Right.
That doesn't happen.
No.
That's bullshit. The end of it, I was angry when I watched it.
I get it.
Because I was like, I know you're trying to put some
wrap it up and put a bow on it.
Yeah, make it
It
pretty.
ends with us.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Does it? No.
Yeah.
Realistically, it doesn't. And in multiple ways. When I'm thinking of it ends with us, and that's the end. Oh, it ends with me and her, and I'm breaking the cycle. The real question is, does it really end?
No.
Does it?
No.
Meaning, does the hope that she has from Atlas in the movie, who Atlas to me, it seems like a great guy. He obviously has his own issues, but I think he's a symbol. He's a symbol of hope that there are good men or women.
Yeah.
Because listen, this is definitely a two-way street when it comes to any kind of DV.
Yep.
Women can do it too to men.
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand.
I mean, going back to the whole Hollywood helping or hurting, right? This is a great segue into the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing where that shit blew up in the media and it appeared, I mean, they were both
Listen, they were both messy.
They contributed to the to the dysfunction together. But she was the one that was really abusive to him.
She was a provoker.
Yes. And
You
she
were an
knew he had
instigator.
addictions and other things.
Yeah.
And she would bait him to just pop off.
Yeah.
And that's fucking abuse.
Yeah, that is abuse. That was another one. So like another question that I had at the end, like, okay, you know, does it really end? Does the abuser just disappear? If you have kids, if you don't have kids, it doesn't even matter. All right. Like, do you think they really just fade away and you just never hear from them again and that's the end of it? No. Does the law allow it to end? If you do have kids, think about it.
No.
Do you think
Yeah, if he wants to see that kid.
There is no like.
Yeah. I mean, and if you can prove that he's abusive, then it becomes a whole messy thing where like social services is involved, supervised visits, all these things. It's not like
claims, police, all of this.
Yeah.
Like that's bullshit.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And I feel like it's insulting to people who have survived this.
Agree.
It really pissed me off.
But don't you think so? Like we're sitting here having these discussions right now. Don't you think Blake and Justin and even Ryan supporting his wife, like the cast of this movie, these are the conversations that they should have been having.
Absolutely. Not about, you know, I want my outfits to be sexier and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, are you fucking serious?
I know. It's disgusting.
She's a twat. She is. If she is actually responsible for the way that this whole thing panned out, I will never be a fan of hers.
No.
I will boycott anything having to do with her. I love her husband too because I think he's funny as fuck. We totally have the same sense of humor.
I know.
It's disappointing.
I wanted him to be who I thought he was, and I don't think he is.
You know, they say never meet your heroes because it's usually a disappointment.
There you go. So one of the things that I want to talk about as far as the movie itself goes was that I thought they actually did well, at least from my perspective, was showing the situations as she saw it while she was in the relationship versus showing the situations that she saw it when she finally
when the fog had lifted.
The fog had lifted.
Yes,
exactly.
I agree.
For me personally, and I would give this advice to anyone who is in an abusive relationship, it's that you don't realize how bad things are until you're out of it. And then you feel like a crazy person because you're like, how did I live like this and allow these things to happen to me for as long as I did? Because you don't see it when you're in it the way you see it when you're out of it. And so I think the movie did an excellent job of showing that. Now, is that as relatable for someone who was not in an abusive relationship or has never been a part of a domestic violence situation? I don't know if it's as evident, and I don't think either one of us can answer that question.
No, I don't think we can. I will say I do like that they gave like a hopeful aspect that like you can move on.
Yeah.
There are good, like I said, Atlas to me was a symbol.
Yeah.
He was just a symbol that like there's
people
better
out there.
there's good people out there. And I think through my own self-reflection, like as I processed everything that I've experienced, was there's a lot of I found out I was very naive. And I could tell in the first year of a relationship that I was in that was abusive, I knew in the first year something was wrong. Mm-hmm. And when I say I was naive to it, it's like you make excuses.
Oh, yeah.
And like the excuses aren't to justify the person's behavior. It's like
to justify your acceptance of their behavior.
Well, no, it was more that like, I don't know, like I was raised, and I think you were raised too, to believe that like really bad people who do really bad things aren't the girl or boy next door.
Yeah.
They are murderers.
Right.
They're drug addicts.
Right.
They're rapists. They're terrorists. They're people like that like, you know, have a rotten fucking core. It's one of those things that I did not realize you can
fall in love with someone like that.
Who is perfect on paper.
Yeah.
And really has those demons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that's the naivety that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The word, I think I'm using that right. That was one of the things that I learned about myself, was that those were, I feel, my reasons for making the excuses in like my head to myself, or justifying it. Like, you know, it's okay, people are different, you know what I mean? But like, this is a good person. I know this is a good person. You also have to remember too, like, in the aftermath of all of this, like when the fog does lift, there's so much turmoil that goes with it emotionally. There's shame, there's guilt, there's embarrassment, of course. You know what I mean? There's you question your own judgment.
Like, that's exactly right.
So badly. So badly. It's like, because you consider yourself a pretty put together person. Like, I don't know. I think about the people that I keep close to me.
Yeah.
And I don't have shitbags in my life.
No.
I do not have any shitbags in my life. So to think that I would allow someone to get so close, it makes you really question, like, your judgment.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. I think in my particular situation, and again, I can only tell my own story, but I think I was young and I was finding my independence at the time. And I was also, I think, in a bit of a rebellious phase to where I wanted to be out from underneath like our parents' roof. And so I made a quick decision to move in with this guy, thinking that I was an adult at 19, 20 years old.
And was playing house.
Yes, 100%. I was not an adult. And I think my pride was a bit of it, where I wanted to prove that I could be out on my own and be an adult and work and pay my bills and have a relationship. And so because I was so firm in my mind on that being the image that was being created, I tolerated the abuse that was happening in that relationship because I cared so much about being on a path to growing up, a trajectory to growing up. And so I will say that particular relationship, as horrible as it was, I don't regret it at all. And it's because it taught me what I do not want in a partner. And it taught me that very young.
Yeah.
And so I'm not mad about that. I wouldn't want anyone to actually have to go through that kind of a situation if they don't. But as someone who's always learned life lessons a hard way, for me, it was a good thing, because the harm that came of it was not as bad as it could have been.
Right.
There were no children involved. It was not, we weren't married, right?
It was an easier break.
It was very
That's a cleaner,
immature and good to like get out of.
And it's also one of those things that when you look back at it now, you know, all these years later, you can chalk it up to exactly that, young. You know what I mean? Like young.
It's still no excuse for anyone to put their hands on you.
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. But, you know, like, it's understandable. I think like when, you know, for example, in the movie, right, Blake talks about how her mom was abused by her dad, like growing up, right?
Yes.
That being a grown woman, right? Like, that's difficult. So I'm sure she had, you know, in this hypothetical situation, because we're talking about a movie, but people who actually experience this as full-grown adults, where your mind is fully developed and everything like that. I feel like you're probably a lot harder on yourself when you do have the fog lifted, because you are an adult.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do know better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and I think about women with children, you know, multiple children even, where, you know, they're having to get out of these situations and they're stuck almost because they get trapped financially. They get trapped, you know, with making sure their kids can still like live their life and day to day and not be disrupted.
Yeah.
But to try to leave someone like that, like with a couple kids, like I can't even, I'm so glad that my situation was not that way. But,
you know who I think the hero was in that movie?
Who?
I know Blake wanted to be the hero in the movie.
Oh, sure.
And that's the idea, is that Blake was the hero in the movie.
Right.
Because she
Her own hero.
She stopped.
She broke the cycle.
She broke the cycle. Yeah. No, you know who the hero in that movie was to me?
The sister-in-law?
Yes.
I agree.
She was the diplomatic, morally ground hero.
Agree.
I was like, when I was watching her in the end, saying like, I never would have expected, I knew X, Y, Z. But like you have to think too, like a lot of people with families, they can be like, I'm sticking to my family no matter what.
Yeah.
I will protect them at all costs.
Yeah.
And I understand that. Like I can wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
But for the people who are morally grounded enough, like the sister-in-law, to like put their foot down and say, nope.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable in every kind of way. I'm here for you no matter what.
Yeah.
Like she was the hero in the movie to me.
So
That was total sidebar. Sorry.
I agree with you. Let's get into like our situations specifically, because as we were kind of prepping for some of this and me thinking about like things that went really badly and I can just say in my situation specifically, where I hope that this information can be helpful to people if they are in a bad relationship or need to get out. And I think today, again, this was 20 years ago that this happened to me, but today I think there's a lot more discussion and awareness about things than maybe there were then.
Yeah.
So there's more resources available for people, but I would love to just tell this story about a time where I actually went to the police to get help.
Yeah.
What had happened was he had choked me up against the wall to the point of unconsciousness, and I had bruises and red marks all along my neck from how tight he had squeezed me like up against the wall.
Yeah.
And so
Motherfucker.
this was not the first time. So I had gotten to the point where I was like, I am done. And you said, that's another thing, like you say that over and over again, and then for whatever reason you keep going back. And this happens all the time with anyone in these situations. And it sucks, but it's part of the process to getting out of it, I guess. But anyway, so I went to the police, and where I expected compassion from police officers who could visibly see that I had been hurt,
Right.
I came down there to file a complaint, and I was made to feel, I think, one, because I was young, and two, because he had connections within the police force.
Mm-hmm.
I was made to feel like I was a liar.
That
And
sucks. That fear is real.
I was not able to give a statement to anyone without him being in the room.
What?
Near me.
What?
So like I would assume in these situations they would separate you, because what happened was when I went down there, he followed me separately and came into the police station. Yeah. And so I was hoping that they would have taken me separately.
Why would they not?
They did not. And so when I was trying to tell them what happened, he was countering things and making up shit about why he choked me or why I had marks on my neck. It wasn't because of him choking me, according to him. I forget what his fucking excuse was, but it was bullshit. But anyway,
I can't even imagine.
the point being, like, they did not treat me in a way that I felt that I could get help from them. And so what happened was I got instantly scared.
Yeah.
I clammed up. I was afraid. Yeah. I felt like they were judging me. I felt like they did not believe me. And I chose to go home as opposed to pursuing charges like I should have, because they did not accommodate me in the way I needed to be accommodated as a victim. In that moment, in that time, I was not given the help that I deserved. And
That sucks.
I don't know how often this happens, but it happened to me, and it was fucking shitty.
That sucks. That's really bad. I mean, not for nothing, but again, maybe because it was so long ago, there was just, I'm not trying to make excuses. Don't get me wrong.
No, I know.
But I'm saying, like, the fact that they even put you guys in the same room, I can't see that happening today.
Yeah. Like, to force you to file a complaint against someone who's sitting right next to you and to give a statement, like, while they're there after they had just nearly killed you.
Right.
Is like, there's no words to explain it. It was surreal.
God, shame on them. That's really bad.
So, yeah. So anyway,
I will say that I understand that kind of fear. Well, I can share this anyway. There was a time, and I know you're aware, that I reached out to police, which is a huge step.
yeah.
Like, that is a huge deal. People don't understand how terrifying that is to do, because you're thinking of all of the repercussions that come after that.
Yeah.
The public record of it, the impact on children. There's so much, the retaliation.
Yep.
Like, there's so much fear involved with something like that.
Yep.
It got to the point was I had reached out, and I was teetering on the fence of whether or not I should do this because of
Like, file a formal complaint.
Yes. Just to put something on record.
Right.
Like, I needed it to be on record.
Yep.
You know, like, I knew I did. And the police at that time were willing to come to me.
Yep.
And, like, they were more than accommodating. So
Yeah.
my experience was different from yours.
Thank God.
Thank God. And still, I didn't follow through with it. Like, I don't think people understand, like, the level of fear that goes with all of this.
Yeah.
To reach out for help, that kind of help specifically.
Right.
And I mean, for all those reasons that I listed, retaliation, like the public record of it.
And again, this person is physically harming you, so you're afraid of them too. Like, if I'm in their presence, are they going to hurt me? Are they going to kill me next time? Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what could happen. So it's a fucking scary thing.
Yeah.
Scary. And your mind goes to places because you're so traumatized, that, like, you don't know what they're capable of.
Well, I think it's because you've been exposed to seeing sides of them that you wouldn't have ever expected.
Right.
That anything is possible.
Right.
That's
Right.
really where
Yeah.
your head is at.
And
it's
your
like
mind goes
you put
wild.
nothing past them.
Yeah.
Nothing past them. And you're right. Your mind goes. It's like you go
fear
into
takes over.
self-protection mode.
It's like, what's worse, holding all this in and just dealing with the abuse and the fear, internalizing that fear, or telling someone, starting the process of creating the change to remediate it, but being more fearful of the process and the repercussions of that versus just continuing to deal with the abuse that you're dealing with and then the change to make it stop.
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
It does. It makes total sense. This is what I mean also when I was watching this movie where I'm like, this is not a true depiction.
Not at all.
Because none of this.
No.
Well, she didn't, I mean, the only person she told was Atlas, and she didn't even tell Atlas. He saw it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it was
Yeah.
somebody who saw signs of it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there were people that witnessed my abuse firsthand.
Same.
In the room with me. And, not that it's their responsibility to protect me or whatever, but they did nothing.
Well, I think it's just as shocking to normal people when they're witnessing something like that.
Yeah.
That they clam up.
They're scared.
Yeah,
too.
they get scared too.
I know. And then like,
and I get
you
it.
take that a step further and think about, again, people with children these children are witnessing this abuse and stuff. It's like, it's bad. It's really bad. Anyway, I think a couple things that I just want to touch on as far as help, because I think this is a really important thing. There's a few organizations out there that can help people who are in these sort of situations. So loveisrespect.org is a great resource, I think, especially for younger people, because it's really about dating and healthy relationships and what's normal and what's not. And had I been maybe exposed to this site in my situation, I would have learned quicker that this is not okay.
Possibly. might have been able to help me.
Possibly.
Another great one, and Ashley and I are really going to try to do some more work with this group specifically, because I think sharing our stories is a way to help other people, is the hotline.org. And so they are a national domestic violence hotline that if people are experiencing abuse or even in a situation where it's a climactic thing and they've been harmed or hurt or whatever, they can really provide you with the resources and the help you need to help you get out and to help children get out and to help find you a place to go and financial security. And so it's odd because out of all of this awfulness from Hollywood that happened to bring this subject to be something that you and I have been talking about and unfortunately can relate so much to, I think it's good because it's driven me to realize how passionate I am about this space and that I really want to help.
I agree. I feel the same way. And again, for anybody who has gone through anything like this, you're not alone.
No.
You're not alone.
No. Yeah. Definitely not.
It's unfortunately way more common than we thought it would be.
Yeah, these statistics are like insane to me. In New Jersey, a domestic violent act occurs every 7.5 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
Isn't that shameful?
Yeah.
So some
That's
great
disgusting.
statistics on DV are available on another site specifically for New Jersey people. They expand beyond New Jersey, but this is a New Jersey specific organization. It's called safewayout.org. So it's another resource just for people to go to figure out how to get out of these horrible situations.
I think also it's important to mention that everybody's experience is different. They're not all the same.
Nope.
And also, I feel like everybody has their own limit. Like, again, just touching back to the movie, like her limit was when he tried to bite that tattoo off of her collarbone.
Right.
That was her limit, right?
Yeah.
When I think back to my own experience, I wouldn't have gone yet. It depends on how long your rope is personally.
Yeah.
Okay? So
My limit and the reason I left was not because of the abuse. It was because of infidelity.
really,
Yep.
get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow. Mine was,
But then when I was out of it, and that was the thing that broke me to leave, was he was cheating. That's when I realized, like, holy shit, what the fuck
yeah.
have I been doing?
Yeah, cheating was definitely one of the things that pushed me over the edge, and I still would have stayed. It was honestly, you know what, if it really came down to it, and I mean, it's because my hero stepped in. Like, the hero from this movie, the equivalent to that stepped in for me
Got it.
and gave me the courage.
I had a hero in my situation too.
Yeah.
Help me.
Shout out to the heroes out there.
Yeah, for serious.
Yeah, seriously.
And you probably don't even know that you are the heroes sometimes. But
Not all of them were capes.
yeah, true.
Okay, so
Totally
we're going to
true.
end this on a little bit of a lighter note.
Okay.
So again, going back to this movie, one of the things that Atlas says when he's hanging out with Blake after she, leaves is, what song do you think that they're going to play at your funeral? And he's like, I think it's going to be Creed. Arms wide open. So I was thinking, because this is my trauma response is humor, what song?
Oh, I already know this. I have it picked out.
Do you? What song
Totally.
is going to play at your funeral?
It's gonna be the band Perry. If I die young, bury me inside.
You're such a
Lay
fucking
me
sap.
down
I love
on a
that song.
bed
Maybe I'll
of
sing it for you.
roses.
Mine's going to
Terrible singer.
be NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye.
Does everyone have a funeral song?
That's my funeral song. And I'm
terrifying.
telling you, that's like my favorite song.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Literally.
I'm
I
gonna
kinda
like
can't
do the
wait.
dance in the beginning. Like,
If everybody could choreograph it, like, while they're putting me in the ground, that would, like, that would be goals for my funeral.
I will.
Anyway, all right, so that's good. I think this is
Yeah.
a
So
good
listen,
way
check
to
out again
lighten this up.
thehotline.org, loveisrespect.org, and safewayout.org. And listen, if you want to reach out to us and we can figure out a way to help you, we will. So absolutely. We're sisters. We're here for you. You're our sisters. Even if you're our brothers, we got you.
That's right.
All right. Talk soon.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.